San Juan, Puerto Rico. Hurricane Maria made landfall on Puerto Rico as a powerful Category 4 storm early Wednesday, cutting electricity and phone lines, sending thousands of people into shelters and raising the prospect of deadly floods. As of 9 a.m., the eye of the storm was about 15 miles west-southwest of San Juan, having hit Yabucoa in the southeast shortly after 6 a.m. It had crossed the United States Virgin Islands as a Category 5 storm, then weakened slightly but remained extremely dangerous, with heavy rain and winds of up to 155 miles an hour. As the hurricane moved in, residents across the island were awakened by the clamor of strengthening wind gusts. Jerica Colano, 27, took refuge with 3 family members in her concrete home in Bayamuan, a town near the island's capital. She said the wind was blowing hard and screaming. "Almost all the trees have fallen, and I can see aluminum roofs flying," she said. "The doors and gates vibrate because of the power of the gusts." The National Weather Service warned that extremely dangerous floods are imminent along the Rio de la Plata, the island's longest river. The storm has brought new misery to a region that has seen 2 other powerful hurricanes, Irma and Jose, in recent weeks. "For Irma, we were very prepared," Governor Ricardo Rossello said on CNN. "Unfortunately, of course, now we're feeling a second storm in 2 weeks, and this one much more devastating than the first one. Who knows what the damage will be?" He said that 61% of the island's electricity customers had lost power and that he expected the island to lose power entirely. Flooding and mudslides are major concerns, Governor Rossello warned, and the rain that follows the brunt of the storm could be just as dangerous as the winds. He said that 11,000 people were reported to have gone to shelters, but that the real number was most likely higher. Residents of the Virgin Islands, whose homes were damaged by Irma 2 weeks ago, were also urged to find new shelters to ride out Maria. The storm began pounding the Virgin Islands on Tuesday evening, and a flash flood alert was sent to residents' cell phones at 10:05 p.m., Governor Kenneth E. Mapp of the United States Virgin Islands said. He warned that hurricane-strength winds were likely to batter the islands until Wednesday morning. The core of the storm passed south of the Virgin Islands, with the outer eye wall lashing St. Croix. "There was howling in every part of this house," said Ernest Gilbert, a journalist who lives on the east side of the island. "In my area, the winds were ferocious. But the bulk of the winds were expected to hit strongest in the southwest. At one point," he said, "the rafters of his house began cracking, and part of his wall had cracked. The strong winds forced him to barricade his doors with couches," Mr. Gilbert said. "That was the scariest portion of the ordeal for me," he said by telephone. On CNN, Brock Long, the administrator of the Federal Emergency Management Agency, said that the agency was well positioned to help in Puerto Rico and the United States Virgin Islands. Mr. Long confirmed that both areas had fragile power systems. "It's going to be a very frustrating event to get the power back on," he said. Maria had battered the island nation of Dominica a day earlier. Prime Minister Roosevelt Scarrett described the damage as mind-boggling and wrote on Facebook that he had to be rescued after winds ripped the roof off his official residence. But little information has emerged since then, with the storm having taken out phone and power lines on Dominica. Hartley Henry, an advisor to Mr. Scarrett, told the Associated Press on Wednesday that there had been 7 confirmed deaths from Hurricane Maria on Dominica. 2 people were also killed on the French Caribbean island of Guadeloupe, officials said. Through the storm's maximum sustained winds dropped somewhat overnight, the authorities warned early Wednesday that it was still potentially catastrophic, bearing fury aimed at Puerto Rico and Vieques, a southeastern Puerto Rican island. Right now Maria is a bit weaker because the very tight circulation of the previous eye wall is suddenly disappearing as the outer eye wall replaces it, said Anthony Sagliani, meteorological operations manager at weather data company Earth Networks. The storm will be a powerful hurricane at landfall regardless, but might not be as powerful as it could be, he said. In the town of Catano in northern Puerto Rico, several houses lost their zinc roofs and the roof of a church was ripped apart, Felix Delgado Montalvo, the town's mayor, said on a local radio station. "My message now is not to leave your houses until the situation is over," he told listeners. Residents of Puerto Rico braced for a more direct hit than from Irma, which killed 3 people there and knocked out power to many. Widespread outages of Puerto Rico's creaky electrical network were expected again once Maria arrived in force.